Shalom, brothers and sisters in Yahweh, our Elohim, and welcome. This is our next study in the Extra-canonicals in the Book of Jasher. This book's getting pretty good, huh, gang? Alright, gang, tonight we're going to be doing chapters 16, 17, and 18. So if you got a Dead Sea Scrolls book, go ahead and grab it. Alright, I hope everybody had a great Shabbat, had a great weekend, and getting ready to roll through the week. Alright, well, let's get started. Everybody comfy? Got yourselves all settled? Okay, let's get started tonight. Chapter 16, the Book of Jasher. At that time, Sheldor-Lamor, king of Elam, sent to all the neighboring kings to Nimrod, king of Shinar, who was then under his power, and to Tidal, king of Goyim, and to Arioch, king of Elasar, with whom he made a covenant, saying, Come up to me, and assist me, that we may strike all the towns of Sodom and its inhabitants, for they have rebelled against me these 13 years. These 4 kings went up with all their camps, about 800,000 men, and they went as they were, and struck every man they found in their road. And the 5 kings of Sodom and Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Admah, Shemaber, king of Zeboim, Berah, king of Sodom, and Bersha, king of Gomorrah, and Bela, king of Zoar, went out to meet them, and they all joined together in the valley of Siddim. These 9 kings made war in the valley of Siddim, and the king of Sodom and Gomorrah were smitten before the king of Elam. The valley of Siddim was full of lime pits, and the kings of Elam pursued the kings of Sodom, and the kings of Sodom with their camps fled, and fell into the lime pits. All that remained went to the mountain for safety. The 5 kings of Elam came after them, and pursued them to the gates of Sodom, and they took all that there was in Sodom. They plundered all the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, and they also took Lot, Abram's brother's son, and his property. They seized all the goods of the cities of Sodom, and they went away. Eunuch, Abram's servant, whom was in the battle, saw this, and told Abram all that the kings had done to the cities of Sodom, and that Lot was taken captive by them. Abram heard this, and he rose up with about 318 men that were with him, and that night he pursued these kings and struck them. They all fell before Abram and his men, and there was none remaining but the 4 kings who fled, and they each went his own road. Abram recovered all the property of Sodom, and he also recovered Lot, and his property, his wives, his little ones, and all belonging to him, so that Lot lacked nothing. And when he returned from smiting these kings, he and his men passed the valley of Siddim, where the kings had made war together. Berah, king of Sodom, and the rest of his men that were with him went out from the lime pits into which they had fallen to meet Abram and his men. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, the high priest. The same was Shem, so he was of the bloodline of Shem, according to this, went out with his men to meet Abram and his people, with bread and wine, and they remained together in the valley of Molech. Okay, this is why I don't like the translations that are not direct translations, okay? Because in this is speaking of Melchizedek. Now, in going through our Bible studies in Genesis, we have learned about Melchizedek. And according to those Bible studies, Melchizedek was not of Shem. As a matter of fact, the Bible says that Melchizedek didn't have a lineage. Okay? And he was the high priest of Salem. What is Salem? Shalom. I suggest that to know more about this, please go back to Genesis in these studies and listen to those studies, because it explains a lot more about who Melchizedek was. And then when we went into Enoch also explains on Melchizedek, and at the end of Enoch, there's a bonus section that explains who Melchizedek was. Okay? This is very vague, and the translation is not good. Alright. Verse 12. Melchizedek blessed Abram, and Abram gave him a tenth from all that he had brought from the spoil of his enemies. For Melchizedek was a priest before Yahweh. He was the high priest of Salem. Go back and look at those studies and you'll understand who Melchizedek is and who he was. Verse 13. And all the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah who were there with their servants approached Abram and begged him to return their servants whom he had made captive, and to take to himself all the property. Abram answered the kings of Sodom, saying, As the Elohim lives, who created heaven and earth, and who redeemed my soul from all affliction, and who delivered me this day from my enemies, and gave them into my hand, I will not take anything belonging to you, that you may not boast tomorrow, saying, Abram became rich from our property that he saved. For Yahweh, my Elohim, in whom I trust, said to me, You shall lack nothing, for I will bless you in all the works of your hands. Now here is all belonging to you. Take it and go. As the Elohim lives, I will not take from a living soul down to a shoe tie or thread, excepting the expense of the food of those who went out with me to battle, as also the portions of the men who went with me, Anar, Ashcal, and Mamre, they and their men, as well as those also who had remained to watch the baggage. They shall take their portion of the spoil. And the kings of Sodom gave Abram according to all that he had said. They pressed him to take whatever he chose, but he would not. He sent away the kings of Sodom, and remained of their men, and he gave them orders about Lot, and they went to their respective places. And Lot, his brother's son, he also sent away with his property, and he went with them. And Lot returned to his home, to Sodom, and Abram and his people returned to their home, to the plains of Mamre, which is in Hebron. At that time the Elohim again appeared to Abram in Hebron, and he said to him, Do not fear, your reward is very great before me, for I will not leave you until I have multiplied you, and blessed you, and made your offspring like the stars in heaven, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And I will give to your descendants and all these lands that you see with your eyes. I will give them for an inheritance forever. Only be strong, and do not fear. Walk before me, and be perfect. In the 78th year of the life of Abram, in that year Reu died, the son of Peleg, and all the days of Reu were 239 years, and he died. And Sarai, the daughter of Haran, Abram's wife, was still unable to conceive in those days. She did not bear to Abram either son or daughter. When she saw that she gave birth to no children, she took her handmaid, Hagar, whom Pharaoh had given her, and she gave her to Abram, her husband, for a wife. For Hagar learned all the ways of Sarai, and Sarai taught her. She was not in any way deficient in following her good ways. Sarai said to Abram, Behold, here is my handmaid Hagar. Go to her, that she may bring forth on my knees, that I may also obtain children through her. At the end of 10 years of Abram's dwelling in the land of Canaan, which is the 85th year of Abram's life, Sarai gave Hagar to him. And Abram listened to the voice of his wife Sarai, and he took his handmaid Hagar, and Abram came to her, and she conceived. When Hagar saw that she had conceived, she rejoiced greatly, and her mistress was despised in her eyes. She said within herself, This can only be that I am better before Yahweh than Sarai my mistress. For all the days that my mistress has been with my Elohim, she did not conceive. But me, the Elohim has caused in so short a time to conceive by him. And when Sarai saw that Hagar had conceived by Abram, Sarai was jealous of her handmaid, and Sarai said within herself, This is certainly nothing else, but she must be better than I am. Sarai said to Abram, My wrong be on you, for at the time when you prayed before the Elohim for children, why did you not pray on my account, that the Elohim should give me offspring from you? When I speak to Hagar in your presence, she hates my word, because she has conceived, so you will say nothing to her. May the Elohim judge between me and you for what you have done to me. And Abram said to Sarai, Behold, your handmaid is in your hand. Do to her as it may seem good in your eyes. And Sarai afflicted her, and Hagar fled from her to the wilderness. And an angel of the Elohim found her in the place where she had fled by a well, and he said to her, Do not fear, for I will reproduce your offspring, for you shall bear a son, and you shall call his name Ishmael. Now then return to Sarai your mistress, and submit yourself under her hand. Also in our Bible study it explains who that angel of the Elohim is. It's not just an angel. Verse 35, And Hagar called the place of that well Bir Lahai Roi. It is between Kadesh and the wilderness of Bered. And Hagar at that time returned to her master's house. And at the end of days Hagar gave birth to a son to Abram. And Abram called his name Ishmael. And Abram was 86 years old when he had him. Chapter 17. In those days, in the 91st year of the life of Abram, the children of Chittim made war with the children of Tubal. For when the Elohim had scattered the sons of men on the face of the earth, the children of Chittim went and settled in the plain of Canopia, and they built themselves cities there, and lived by the river Tiberu. The children of Tubal lived in Tuscana, and their boundaries reached the river Tiberu. And the children of Tubal built a city in Tuscanan, and they called the name Sabinah, after the name of Sabinah, son of Tubal, their father, and they lived there to this day. It was at that time that the children of Chittim made war with the children of Tubal, and the children of Tubal were smitten before the children of Chittim. The children of Chittim caused 370 men to fall from the children of Tubal. At that time the children of Tubal swore to the children of Chittim, saying, You shall not intermarry among us, and no man shall give his daughter to any of the sons of Chittim. For all the daughters of Tubal were in those days fair, for no women were then found in the whole earth so fair as the daughters of Tubal. And all those who delighted in the beauty of women went to the daughters of Tubal, and took wives from them. And the sons of men, kings and princes, who greatly delighted in the beauty of women, took wives in those days from the daughters of Tubal. At the end of 3 years, after the children of Tubal had sworn to the children of Chittim not to give them their daughters for wives, about 20 men of the children of Chittim went to take some of the daughters of Tubal, but they found none. For the men of Tubal kept their oaths not to intermarry with them, and they would not break their oaths. In the days of harvest, the children of Tubal went into the fields to get in their harvest, when the young men of Shittim assembled and went to the city of Sebnah. And each man took a young woman, from the daughters of Tubal, and they came to their cities. And the children of Tubal heard of it, and they went to make war with them. They could not prevail over them, for the mountain was very high. When they saw they could not prevail over them, they returned to their land. And all the revolution of the year, the children of Tubal went and hired about 10,000 men from those cities that were near them, and they went to war with the children of Chittim. And the children of Tubal went to war with the children of Chittim, to destroy their land and to distress them. In this engagement the children of Tubal prevailed over the children of Chittim, and the children of Chittim, seeing that they were greatly distressed, lifted up the children which they had had by the daughters of Tubal on the wall which had been built, to be before the eyes of the children of Tubal. And the children of Chittim said to them, Have you come to make war with your own sons and daughters? And have we not been considered your flesh and bone from that time till now? When the children of Tubal heard this, they ceased to make war with the children of Chittim, and they went away. They returned to their cities, and the children of Chittim at that time assembled, and built 2 cities by the sea. They called one Purtu, and the other Arizah. And Abram, the son of Terah, was then 99 years old. At that time the Elohim appeared to him and said, I will make my covenant between me and you, and I will greatly reproduce your offspring. And this is the covenant which I make between me and you, that every male child be circumcised, you and your descendants after you. At 8 days old shall it be circumcised. And this covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. And now, therefore your name shall no more be called Abram, but Abraham. And your wife shall no more be called Sarai, but Sarah. For I will bless you both, and I will reproduce your descendants, that you shall become a great nation, and kings shall come forth from you. I'm going to take a drink real quick, and we'll continue on to chapter 18. Nighttime coffee is good stuff. Chapter 18. Abraham rose and did all that Yahweh had ordered him. He took the men of his household, and those bought with money, and he circumcised them as the Elohim had commanded him. There was not one left whom he did not circumcise, and Abraham and his son Ishmael were circumcised in the flesh of their foreskin. Ishmael was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. And in the 3rd day Abraham went out of his tent and sat at the door to enjoy the heat of the sun during the pain of his flesh. And the Elohim appeared to him in the plain of Mamre, and sent 3 of his ministering angels to visit him. And he was sitting at the door of his tent. He lifted his eyes and saw 3 men were coming from a distance. he rose up and ran to meet them, and he bowed down to them and brought them into his house. Here again, the translation, no good. Because when you go back to our Bible study in Genesis, you find out who these ministering angels that he sent, who they are. And they're not just angels. Two of them are angels, but one of them's not. Okay, this is just a bad translation. There's a lot there. Gang, if you really want to understand all of this interaction in this that we're reading tonight, please go back and do the Genesis study. Because the Genesis study and the Enoch study, both of them, are way better, way more descriptive, okay? And you know who is being talked about here. It's got a lot more meaning. Verse 5, and he said to them, now I have found favor in your sight. Turn in and eat a morsel of bread. He urged them. They turned in, and he gave them water, and they washed their feet, and he placed them under a tree at the door of the tent. Abraham ran and took a calf, tender and good, and he hurried to kill it, and gave it to his servant Eliezer to dress. And Abraham came to Sarah into the tent, and said to her, make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, and make cakes to cover the pot containing the meat. And she did so. Abraham hurried and brought forth them milk and butter, beef and mutton, and put it before them to eat, before the flesh of the calf was sufficiently done. And they ate. A little more involved there, guys. A little more involved. And it's not... There's some that's been added to here, and this is just not a good translation of this story. Excuse me. Verse 9. Dang it. When they were done eating, one of them said to him, I will return to you according to the time of life, and Sarah your wife shall have a son. Yeah. A little more involved. And the men afterward departed, and went their way to the places to which they were sent. In those days all the people of Sodom and Gomorrah, and of the whole 5 cities, were greatly wicked, and sinful against the Elohim, and they provoked the Elohim with their abominations, and they grew worse as they aged abominably, and scornful before the Elohim, and their wickedness and crimes were in those days great before the Elohim. They had in their land a very extensive valley, about half a day's walk, and in it there were fountains of water, and a great deal of herbage surrounding the water. And all the people of Sodom and Gomorrah went there 4 times a year, with their wives and children, and all belonging to them, and they rejoiced there with timbrels and dances. In the time of rejoicing they would all rise and lay hold of their neighbors' wives, and some the virgin daughters of their neighbors, and they enjoyed them. Each man saw his wife and daughter in the hands of his neighbor, and did not say a word. Ooh. And they did so from morning to night. Afterward they returned home, each man to his house, and each woman to her tent. So they always did 4 times a year. Also when a stranger came into their city, and brought goods which he had purchased with a view to dispose of there, the people of those cities would assemble, men, women, and children, young and old, and go to the man, and take his goods by force, giving a little to each man until there was an end to all the goods of the owner which he had brought into the land. And if the owner of the goods quarreled with them, saying, What is this work which you have done to me? Then they would approach him one by one, and each would show him a little, with which he took, and taunt him, saying, I only took that little which you did give me." When he heard this from them all, he would arise and go from them in sorrow and bitterness of soul. Then they would all arise and go after him and drive him out of the city with great noise and tumult. There was a man from the country of Elam who was leisurely going on the road, seated on his ass, which carried a fine mantle of varied colors, and the mantle was bound with a cord on his ass. The man was on his journey, passing through the street of Sodom, when the sun set in the evening. He remained there in order to abide during the night, but no one would let him into his house. At that time there was in Sodom a wicked and mischievous man, one skillful to do evil, and his name was Hadad. And he lifted up his eyes, and saw the traveler in the street of the city. And he came to him and said, "Whence come you, and where do you go?" The man said to him, "I am traveling from Hebron to Elam, where I belong. And as I passed, the sun set, and no one would invite me to enter into his house. You have bread and water, and also straw and feed for my ass, for I am short of nothing." And Hadad answered and said to him, "All that you shall want shall be supplied by me, but in the street you shall not abide all night." Hadad brought him to his house, and he took off the mantle from the ass with the cord, and brought them to his house. And he gave the ass straw and feed, while the traveler ate and drank in Hadad's house, and he abode there that night. And in the morning the traveler rose up early to continue his journey, when Hadad said to him, "Wait, comfort your soul with a morsel of bread, and then go." And the man did so, and he remained with him, and they both ate and drank together all during the day. Then the man rose up to go. And Hadad said to him, "Behold, now the day is declining. You had better remain all night, that your heart may be comforted." And he pressed him, so that he tarried there all night. And on the second day he rose up early to go away, when Hadad pressed him, saying, "Comfort your heart with a morsel of bread, and then go." And he remained and ate with him also the second day. Then the man rose up to continue his journey. And Hadad said to him, "Behold, now the day is declining. Remain with me to comfort your heart, and in the morning rise up early, and go your way." The man would not remain, but rose and saddled his ass. And while he was saddling his ass, the wife of Hadad said to her husband, "Behold, this man has remained with us for 2 days, eating and drinking, and he has given us nothing. And now shall he go away from us without giving anything?" Hadad said to her, "Be silent." And the man saddled his ass to go. And he asked Hadad to give him the cord and the mantle to tie it on the ass. And Hadad said to him, "What do you say?" And he said to him, "That you, my lord, shall give me the cord and the mantle made with the varied colors, which you concealed in your house, to take care of it." And Hadad answered the man, saying, "This is the interpretation of your dream. The cord which you did see means that your life will be lengthened out like a cord, and having seen the mantle colored with all sorts of colors, means that you shall have a vineyard, in which you will plant trees of all fruits." And the traveler answered, saying, "Not so, my lord, for I was awake when I gave you the cord, and also a mantle woven with different colors, which you took off the ass to put by for me." And Hadad answered and said, "Certainly, I have told you the interpretation of your dream, and it is a good dream, and this is the interpretation of it. Now, the sons of men, give me 4 pieces of silver, which is my charge for interpreting dreams, and of you only I require 3 pieces of silver." And the man was provoked at the words of Hadad, and he cried bitterly, and he brought Hadad to Sirach, judge of Sodom. And the man laid his cause before Sirach, the judge, when Hadad replied, saying, It is not so, but thus the matter stands. And the judge said to the traveler, This man Hadad tells you truth, for he is famed in the cities for his accurate interpretations of dreams. And the man cried at the word of the judge, and he said, Not so, my lord, for it was in the day that I gave him the cord and mantle which was on the ass, in order to put them by in his house. They both disputed before the judge, the one saying, Thus the matter was, and the other declaring otherwise. Hadad said to the man, Give me 4 pieces of silver that I charge for my interpretation of dreams. I will not make any allowance. Give me the expense of 4 meals that you ate in my house. And the man said to Hadad, Truly, I will pay you for what I ate in your house. Only give me the cord and mantle which you did conceal in your house. Hadad replied before the judge and said to the man, Did I not tell you the interpretation of your dream? The cord means that your days shall be prolonged like a cord, and the mantle, that you will have a vineyard in which you will plant all kinds of fruit trees. This is the proper interpretation of your dream. Now give me the 4 pieces of silver that I require as compensation, for I will make you no allowance. And the man cried at the words of Hadad, and they both quarreled before the judge. The judge gave orders to his servants, who drove them rashly from the house, and they went away quarreling from the judge. When the people of Sodom heard them, they gathered about them and spoke harshly against the stranger, and they drove him rashly from the city. And the man continued his journey on his ass with bitterness of soul, lamenting and weeping. And while he was on his way, he wept at what had happened to him in the corrupt city of Sodom. And that's the end of chapter 18. That was a good story. That part of the story is a good story, and it's not mentioned in the Bible. But that was entertaining. But due to bad translations, the story of when the messengers came to visit Abraham, no, there's so much more to that. So much more to it. The Bible is what speaks truth. Okay? That's where our truth lies. And the Book of Enoch is very reliable to the truth also. You got to remember, it was canonized at one time. The Ethiopian Bible still has Enoch in it. And Eubulus. Eubulus is reliable. Jasher, well, you heard the introduction to Jasher, so you know. But if you want to know what really happened there, go back to the Genesis study and then to the Enoch study and watch both of those, and then you'll have a way better idea of what was going on there, okay? Because there's a lot more meat there than what it says in this. Alright, gang. That's all I got for tonight. I hope you enjoyed tonight's study. Hope I didn't spoil it by griping about the translations. But man, the translations irritate me sometimes because the Greco-Roman is terrible. Anyway, thanks for joining me. I hope you all got something out of tonight's study, even though it frustrates me to read the Greco-Roman. But, you know, what can I do? It's all that I could get at the time. It's what we've got. So that's what we're going to go with. Alright, gang. Y'all have a great night. And we'll see you on Wednesday for our midweek Bible study. Okay? Alright. Shalom.